evil man never need evidence to believe, but still he gotta work for the blessings that he receives. Let's go.
Sometimes it's hard to believe in what you don't see. I understand, but the picture is so much bigger than what we could even imagine. It's one of a matter when the waves of the world make you feel sadder. Put your faith into action.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning into The Good Life. Tonight, I'm here with my brothers, co-workers, dad committee. These are my dads at work. How would you describe yourselves?
Dads at work.
Yeah.
We have Damien, Brandon, and Laique.
Hello.
So we're gonna, I wanted them to be on my panel tonight so we can talk about mixed messages in the media, because I don't have kids and everyone here does. So
Yes.
they're gonna give you some advice for your kids. So I wanna kind of dive in. You know, this day and age, there's so much technology everywhere and access to it. There's no shortage of famous people and trends, and there's just all these things that we're following right now. And, you know, the ability to just watch and see and listen to everything instantaneous, sometimes it's good, but a lot of times there's negative impacts that it's had on us, you know, and it's starting to kind of skew the nation's perspective. So we're gonna get a little controversial, you know, and just talk about a couple things. So, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. All right, so I'm gonna kind of just panel it question-wise, and then we can, whoever wants to go. So the Bible says in Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So that's a pretty powerful verse. So let's start off by talking about, what does that verse really mean? Like, how can we not conform ourselves to the world? The world is around us, it's happening, we're in it. How do we not be so into the world?
Well, I think it starts with your upbringing, and really, like, it starts from childhood. And childhood obviously has a lot to do with the way your parents bring you up, right?
Yeah.
And even if their parents failed them, it's a responsibility on me as a father to kind of instill certain characteristics and values in my children. Us being Christians and living in a secular world, again, it is our responsibility, and we need to basically we need to be more than just parents. But also be accountability partners for our children. Yeah, for future generations, really.
Yeah, I agree. To add on to that, I think it's even more important as not only Christians, but as fathers, you know, leaders of our households, to be, you know, that light that you know, God wanted us to be. You know, when you really think about it, our children, you know, they're our first congregation, so to speak. You know, we're pretty much, in a sense, pastoring them, you know, because they're young, they don't really know anything, they're babies in the world. So, you know, we have to instill in them all of the good qualities that was instilled in us, you know, whether it be from our parents or from God or from, you know, wherever else, to ensure that they have the proper path, you know, to succeed in their life.
And like Laique said about accountability, huge word when it comes to parenting and Christianity. Nowadays it's so easy to prop your child in front of a tablet or a TV and kind of let that babysit them for you. But you have to take it a step further into knowing what they're watching, what they're delving into, because it's nothing to turn on even Cartoon Network right now and see stuff that is a direct
Disney, same.
It's speaking directly against the Bible. Yes. So you have to make sure that you're knowing what your kids are doing, what they're watching, how they're watching it. You really have to be a hands-on, accountable parent. It's not just, hey, they're kids, they'll grow up after they're 18, they're not mine anymore. Right. Way more than that, especially when you're dealing with the Christian part of it.
Right.
But,
yeah, and you know, I don't have kids, but I think that that's a huge topic to bring up, and I like that we're talking about it and get the dad perspective too, because like you said, it is head of household. Everything kind of starts there and goes down. And even if you didn't have the normal parent structure, parents in your life, you still at least knew from that example what not to do, so you know what the opposite you want to do for you and your children.
Exactly.
So I think you should. Like that verse says, test it to the will of God. And sometimes things that we see on TV or, you know, YouTube, yeah, it has parental locks, whatever. Kids are smart, okay? They figure that out.
Very.
And they can search for whatever they want to, which is scary. And it's like, I can't test YouTube to the will of God because by nature,
Right.
it's not that many.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so you really gotta, like you guys said, pay attention to that and really understand what are you giving and feeding to your kids.
Absolutely.
And yourself, really.
Right. Because we have to be good leaders and we have to walk. We can't just talk the talk without walking the walk because at that point we look like hypocrites. So
You have to be cognizant of everything that's around you at the same time.
Right.
And I think it's never too early to kind of teach your kids that we live in a world where choice is really not, basically people take choice as I can do anything I want.
Mm-hmm.
I can change my
Gender.
I can change my sexual preference, I can change my
Race.
whatever race, anything, right?
Yeah.
So I think we as fathers, as parents, have that responsibility to kind of let our kids know early, hey, you're going to be living in this world.
Right.
We're here as fathers, as parents, to kind of guide you through it,
Right.
to help you with choices. But let's stay accountability partners.
There you go.
And
Stay aligned with this body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, it's never too early. I mean, I can remember even me growing up. I did the same with my kids. As soon as you could talk, your first grace was Jesus wept.
Right.
So as long as you're feeding it, even if you're baby feeding it, as
Right.
soon as you can walk, as soon as you can
Right.
talk, okay, just keep progressing in it. You have to find a way to keep that Bible and God all intertwined within their lives.
Absolutely.
From at the moment they come into this world.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, all three of you can attest. It's not easy being a Christian. It is not easy being a Christian.
Bro.
Especially not in this day and age.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, like you said, it feeds you even if you don't need it right that moment. Like when I was a kid, I think we did the Lord's Prayer and I just memorized it, said it every night. I didn't really know or understand what I was saying
Right.
before. I just knew, cool, I memorized this. Let's say this every night. But as I got older, I'm like, oh, that's what this
The
means.
light
Even
bulb
now in this
comes
age,
on.
when I read it in the Bible, I'm like, wow,
That's
I
what
can
it
appreciate
is.
it.
Right.
But it makes me still think of childhood, you know, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I love it. All right, let's see. Next. Okay, well, this definitely ties in. So the other verse I found, 2 Corinthians 6:14 says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness?" So definitely what we're, keeping the topic going. What I wrote to this is interesting. So I feel like there's a lot of people, celebrities and people that we praise and put in pedestals and high places that are trending that aren't necessarily role models or people that we will look at as, hey, they're definitely going to heaven for all of their, characteristics and morals that they have and things like that. So I think it's important that we discuss where is the line right now between appreciating other people that are famous, doing different things, appreciating them and accepting their flaws because maybe they're not Christian. But there's also a line of how do I appreciate that but not also follow that? Because if they can't, we can't mix, we can't do the same thing that they do. So some of the achievements that you may be famous for, I can't say that I would do that. I don't want to do that. That's against my belief. That's against the Bible. So how do we teach our kids, like, yes, there are people in the world that are going to be famous for doing things that don't agree with the Bible.
Right.
You can look at them, but...
Yeah. I think that it's important to make sure you keep separate. It's okay to, be around a person or support a person, so to speak, that may not be doing the will of God, but ensure that we're not idolizing them and make sure that we're not becoming a part of their secular life. Because, as famous saying always goes, you hate the sin, not hate the person. Especially us as Christians, because we're not here to judge. We're not here to place judgment in other people's life decisions. What we're here to do is pass on the light that God put in us. So I guess the short answer to that question is I think it's even more important to be around those that may not be doing God's work, because who's to say that we won't become the reason that they do start doing God's work. So that's my 2 cents in on it.
That's good. Teach them to love. I
Right.
mean, we do. We have to love everyone, and it's not even when you really get to that point, it's not even feeling like, oh, I have to do this. It's just, I love you. I love everyone,
Right.
whether flaws and all, whatever you believe, I still am gonna love you, support you, whatever, but I have to
Right.
draw
As
a
a child
line.
of God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, to a little extent.
And back to even one of your previous discussions, loving you from afar.
Right.
You can still love the person as a child of God, but I don't like what you're doing because it's not in accordance on to how I'm supposed to live my Christian life. Prime example, I mean, we work corporate America. There's a lot of people that don't follow the engagements of the Bible.
Yeah.
And we have to still deal with them on an everyday basis. We have to like them. It's 40, 50, 60 hours a week that we have to deal with them. And hey, I still have to. And like Brandon said, the biggest thing is, because as soon as you sit down and say, well, I don't like the way they live their life, guess what you're doing now?
You're judging.
You're
Yeah,
judging.
absolutely.
You're not too
That's
far.
hard to not look at it like that sometimes. You have to check yourself, I feel. or,
True.
you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What's also very interesting is maybe you've thought about this before, maybe not, but we as Christians, as I mentioned earlier, live in a secular world.
Right.
It's not the other way around.
Right.
It's not secular
Yeah.
people living in a Christian world.
Right.
You're so right.
So, like you said, we as Christians, we have to learn to love these people, not necessarily follow or believe in their beliefs.
Exactly.
Right.
The devil stays busy.
Yes.
We can all agree on
Oh,
that.
Yes. Yes.
And I think 2018, he's busier than he's ever been.
Yes.
Right?
Every year.
Yes.
He's like, get more.
Right.
But that goes back as far as biblical days.
It's always
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
The devil was busy when Jesus was fasting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
just think about that. Like, hey, Son of God, I know you're fasting, but turn these rocks or whatever into
Right.
bread,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
and then you won't be hungry.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Drink some
Steady
water.
test.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Right.
always a test.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for, again, just to remind our kids that, hey, this stuff is out here, man. Like,
Right.
but
It's going to be out here.
It's,
gonna
it's
be
not
out there.
going away.
It's going to get worse.
It's
Right.
not going away.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not. It's not going to go away. So, I think a lot of parents. I come from a really church background. Like, I grew up in the church, and I saw a lot of my really good church friends go secular, like full on. Like,
It's easy.
and part of it is, to me at least, the reason was like their parents were closing them off. Like, hey, don't listen to this kind of music.
There you go.
Don't watch these kind of
There
movies.
you go.
And I think that
Makes you,
attracts. That it becomes an attraction.
Now, I really want to know.
becomes a
I'm
curiosity.
curious. Yeah, I'm
It
curious.
becomes a
I want to know
curiosity.
what that is.
Yes.
So then it as you get older, you're like, you know what? I don't like that I was sheltered from all of this because
Right.
I like it. So
Right.
now, forget everything in the past. I'm going to go this way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So back to my
Exactly.
point, I'm going to wrap this up. It's important to let your kids know, hey, there's good in the world,
Right.
but there's also this other stuff that's going on. I don't want to label it bad because there's a
Different.
whole,
Yeah,
a whole
it's-
bunch of different
yeah.
stuff going
Yeah.
on.
Right.
But basically, we can't say, hey, just look this way. Don't look this
Yeah.
way.
Right.
You have to know what's
Prepare
going on
for
over
the
here.
realness of the
Right.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're almost doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And back to what you said, your first opening statement was being accountable.
Right.
I'm going to say it again. As they're coming up and they're learning to read, okay, great. Some green eggs and ham, fox and socks, Holy Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Get the children's Bible. out.
Right.
I mean, you let them start understanding. As soon as they can start comprehending it, put it in their life. Stop forcing
Yeah.
it to
Right.
them. But okay, we can read this. But let me
Right.
also read this. I mean, because I can tell you now, I don't have it clear, but I can still retain stuff that I learned
Right.
3,
Yeah.
4, 5 years
Right.
coming up.
Yeah.
Right.
And remembering that, okay, I know I gotta say my prayers every night.
Right.
Okay, I know I gotta say my prayers before I eat. Okay, I wake up, I know I gotta say my prayers. Just grooming the
Becomes
being
a habit.
Yes.
Exactly.
And like you said earlier, kids don't even know what they're doing. They're just doing it because
Right.
we're told to do it. But as you grow up and the light bulbs start clicking.
Exactly.
Okay, this is why mom said that. This is why. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So back
And it makes them trust you more. Like, okay,
They
were.
know what they're
Right.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And that's the other big thing.
So they must be
Like,
nice.
I'm gonna raise my kids, and my oldest is 5, so they're not there where we can have these hard conversations. But I'm gonna raise my kids to where they can trust me. A lot of parents, I think, my parents sure did, but like a lot of parents, where they fall short is they break that trust. They, you know, they'll sugarcoat something instead of just telling them the truth.
Exactly how it is.
And then, even though you didn't intend for a trust to be broken, it's broken because
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't prepare me for this.
you didn't prepare me for that. So now I don't see you as somebody I can stay accountable to, or somebody who I can get Bible, real information.
Have a real conversation.
Right. Right.
I agree.
So where do they go then? To the world.
To the
Street,
world.
get worldly advice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that doesn't usually work out.
To the streets.
Step up to the streets.
Oh man. Yeah, and I'm just thinking like, well, I know when I was a kid, anything that would happen like in front of us in the real world, my dad would like explain something in the car and like bring it back to the Bible. It would just be regular life stuff. It wouldn't
Right.
be sugar-coated like, someone got in a car wreck in front of us. Let me tell you about patience. You know, like,
Honestly, we
But
talked
it
about
sticks,
before.
yeah.
The Bible is your roadmap to life.
It
Yeah.
is. Yes,
It's
it is.
there. So
Yeah.
why not teach your kids that?
Right.
Like, it's
it would make life so
at
much
our
easier.
age,
Right.
yeah, I'm like, at our
Right.
age, we're all like in this zone of like, I get it, it makes sense,
Right.
this is who I am, who I want to be, and God. But it took us this long.
Yes.
Right.
So why not make our
30
kids
years.
try to, you know,
Right.
jumpstart it a little bit?
Especially when we want our children to be better than
Than us.
us.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't have kids, but I know that's the goal.
Yes.
For every parent I know, that's the goal.
Absolutely.
If you don't believe in that, try it.
Try it.
You want your kids to outdo you. That's the purpose. All right, we're gonna wrap up. This is gonna be the end of part 1 for mixed messages in the media, and hopefully that kind of helps give you guys some information or, you know, ideas on how to introduce these things into your life with you and your kids as well. So thank you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for part 2 next week. Bye.
Adios.